Welcome everyone to Battle of the Pitch Decks. I'm Tessa from VIATEC. Thanks very much for taking time out of your day to join us and hear from some exciting startups out of Vancouver, Whitehorse, Victoria, and the Okanagan. Before I continue, I'd like to acknowledge that the southern tip of Vancouver Island, where I currently reside, is the traditional territory of the Lekwungen people. We acknowledge with respect these people, also known as the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations communities, whose relationship with this land continues to this day. Coming up on June 21st is the National Indigenous Peoples Day. I'll post a link to that shortly, and it has more information and resources. Now I'd like to introduce you over to Jordan Shelley of the Capital Investment Network for a brief recap and a little bit more about what you can expect for today. Over to you, Jordan.
Thanks, Tessa. Yeah, excited to be here. What once started out as a single event last fall between VIATEC, Capital Investment Network, Women's Equity Lab, and Syndicate grew into a multi-city battle with Angel Forum, with startup Yukon, Accelerate Okanagan, joining forces. Since March 11th, we've heard from companies from Vancouver, Whitehorse, Victoria, and Okanagan. Each city, had a winner who will be battling it out today with full bragging rights. Oh, and yes, of course, there's an epic trophy. Tessa, do you have that cool trophy there?
There you go. Look at this.
Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah, that is pretty exciting. So yeah, take it from there, Tess.
Awesome. Yeah, it's we make a lot of trophies at VIATEC, but I don't know. I think that might be the best one.
I think so.
Just a few quick FYIs before we get rolling here. A reminder that this is a webinar, so all attendees are muted and unseen, but you can feel free to use the chat box at the bottom to engage with people throughout the event. If you like something that you see, put it out in chat. Like, the more reactions we see, the better. It's tough when we're not all together in one room, so we want you guys to engage. Just make sure that the note goes to all panelists and attendees and not just panelists, so everyone can see your note. Following each presentation, our judges will have the opportunity to ask questions. Feel free to use the Q&A box to ask further questions, and we'll get to those at the very end while the judges deliberate and we tally points to get the winner. So stay tuned till the very end because you don't want to miss that. I'd now like to introduce you to Irene Dorsman from the Angel Forum to say a few more words. Over to you, Irene.
Thank you, Tessa, and hello everyone, and special hello to the companies that made it this far. This is an example of just an event that just sort of got started on a Friday afternoon. It was dark and cloudy. We got together, it's like, yeah, we can do this, and we make it bigger. So here we are. So thanks very much for that. So today you will hear from a couple of startups, and not just a couple of startups, but companies that battle it out in the local cities. You will have Lucent BioSciences, Michael Riedijk, Proskida with Alistair, LetHub with Faizan, and then we have Acterra with Marnie. So I'd like to thank our judges for participating not only today, but the 4 previous battles as well. There's Erin Alexander, she's here on behalf of the Women's Equity Lab, William Lechuka from Start Yukon, Carolyn Shaver, Accelerate Okanagan and Well, GeoFile, Angel Forum, Rob Bennett from VIATEC, and of course, last but not least, Stephanie Andrews from the Capital Investment Network. So let's get started. Michael, are you ready to share your screen? And you are, and the floor is yours.
Michael, we can't hear you, so whenever you can, if you can unmute.
Yes, there I am, right?
There you go.
Very good. Well, very excited to kick this off today. There's a lot of people here, so very cool. So my name is Michael Riedijk. I'm the CEO of Lucent BioSciences. And after starting and scaling 2 tech companies in the last 2 decades, I started Lucent with 3 other founders. And we are on a mission to address climate impact on global food security and nutrition by rethinking fertilizer. So when people talk about fertilizer, they typically refer to NPKs, nitrogen, phosphorus specifically. But today we're going to talk about micronutrients like iron, zinc, boron, manganese, and those are as important for plants to grow. So the problem with micronutrient fertilizers, and those are mostly oxysulfates and metal salts, is that they haven't really changed a lot over the last 100 years since they were invented. And the real problem is that they're not working that well because they're not able to provide the right amount of nutrients to plants when they need them. And the result is that we are actually missing out on a yield potential of 20% globally because of lack or improper micronutrient usage. And so what that means is that we could technically feed another 1.5 billion people on the same arable land with current practices and equipment without the need of, drones and AI and, burning down the Amazon to grow more soybeans or something like that. So over the last 5 years, our team has spent years and hours in the lab to find a solution to make micronutrients work. And if there's one single thing I would like you to remember of my presentation today is that we have solved the micronutrient delivery problem. So what is it really about? We found a way to bind micronutrients to cellulose. And we're using byproducts from the food industry as cellulose source. Think about like a rice husk or lentil pear hulls. And this combined product remains in the soil stable and inert until the nutrients are released on demand to the plants through activation of the microbiome. So this way of delivering nutrients is completely novel. And so we filed a patent in 20 nations, and there's a second patent in the works right now that will be filed this month. In addition, the product is carbon neutral, non-polluting, and sustainable. And so what it means is that we're taking micronutrients from a 1930s technologies that it is today and bring it in one massive leap into the 21st century. So last March, we got March last year, we got a $2 million grant from Protein Industries Canada to scale up our technology. And with that money, we built a pilot plant to show that we can actually manufacture this at scale. And so right now we're able to produce 1 ton a day, and we're able to scale up further to all the way up to like 100 tons a day. We also did a whole variety of field trials from small plot to large scale trials, testing the product with vegetables, broad acre crops with a series of farms and independent research organizations. And so here's a bunch of tweets. If you go to our Twitter feed at Soileos, you'll see photos of all kinds of excited farmers that have been applying our product this spring. It's really cool to see. And so we've been seeing amazing results, ranging from 7 to 12% yield increase in row crops, and even in the 25 to 60% yield increases in vegetables. And so what that looks like is, for instance, this example here with lettuce. On the right side, it's Soileos. On the left side, it's our competitors. And that's what a 40% yield increase looks like. And this is an example of corn with our product on the right and the competition on the left. So what is the value proposition for the farmer? We can provide a solution that increases their yield at a price point that gives them a 3x or better return on investment while they are improving their soil health. For the consumer, we offer higher quality vegetables that have increased levels of nutrients that taste better and have better aroma. And the value proposition for the planet, and that may actually be the most important one, is that we can provide a solution that is sustainable, carbon neutral, and non-polluting. So the micronutrient market is growing at 8% per year to $12.5 billion market. And we've identified a serviceable, obtainable market of about $4 billion. So that's very significant. And that market is currently served by all the big fertilizer companies. So, the question is, how are we going to get into that market when we're, looking up to such big players? Well, we have a very different approach because we want to enter the market by providing a sustainable, better performing micronutrient ingredient to these large fertilizer and seed coating companies to incorporate in their products. So our business model is a truly circular economy model where we work on one hand with food processing companies, taking their waste stream and converting it into a fertilizer, and on the other hand, selling it as a formulant to existing soil amendment, fertilizing, and seed coating companies who then bring it back to the farmer. So right now, this month, the month of May, sorry, we sold our first 25 tons of product to a fertilizer company, and we're negotiating another 200 tons with another fertilizer company. And that's basically our whole annual production right there. We're talking with 2 global ag companies to try the product out, and we have expression of interest to license our tech to build the first commercial manufacturing facility here in BC. So where we're heading with this, so right now we're commercializing our iron, zinc, and manganese products. For the coming years, we're looking to expand to copper, boron, and calcium, and eventually we want to get to even a Soileos nitrogen product. We're looking to raise $2 million right now. We have raised 1.5 to date in a preferred equity round, and that will help as a bridge to get us to a $10 million Series A by the end of this year. So if you're interested, reach out to me. And then finally, just a little bit about who's involved. So the board of directors consists of 2 founders and also the former president of Monsanto Canada and the CEO of Intent, a leading precision ag company. We have a very balanced and diverse management team of people with more than 20 years of experience in business management, scale-up, biotech, and engineering, and a great team of advisors with a wide variety of skills. And also, finally, what we want to achieve is to make a global impact on agriculture, starting from the ground up by helping agriculture transform in a sustainable and circular economy to grow more and better food. And so follow us on Twitter. And if you want to try it out yourself at home, go to our website and order one of the bags that we created for home and garden with the coupon code BATTLE for free shipping. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Michael. That's great. Are there any questions? Well, there should be any questions from the judges right here. You've got 3 minutes to really shoot your questions to Michael. If there's anyone with a question, please do unmute and you can go ahead. Gio, do you have a question?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to get a better sense of how much of your market is dealing with B2B versus B2C or licensing.
You mean how we're going to sell it, or
about, yeah, in terms of marketing? Yeah. So in terms of your business plan, how much of the focus is going to be on B2B versus, you mentioned B2C at the very end, and then you're also talking about licensing.
Yeah, so it's a multi-phased approach. We are starting this year and likely the coming 2 years on B2B sales, which is like teaming up with fertilizer, soil amendment, and seed coating companies. That is our primary objective for the coming two years. We see an opportunity to sell the product direct downstream or through distributors. But for fast scale up, we've decided to focus on the B2B approach. Now, B2B is about is about go to market. Licensing is about manufacturing. So we have had conversations with several food processing companies to allow them to license our technology to produce the product while we bring the offtake agreements to the table, for market access. So that is the difference. It's the difference between manufacturing and sales.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Robert has a question, and his question is, I can ask for you, Robert, or you can unmute and ask your question. If you can do potash.
No, right now we're focused on micronutrients. That has been the sole focus. And nitrogen would be, the one NPK that we would like to target next in our scale up. Okay, good.
Are there any other questions from the judges?
I just had a quick one, Irene.
Yes, please.
In regards to your sales, did you focus primarily on Canada right now? And do you have any plans in the future, or have you started looking at the US or internationally?
We're looking right now, we have activities, sales activities happening in Canada, the United States, Latin America, and Europe.
Perfect. Okay, thanks.
Michael, there's one more question from the audience. Thanks, Rob. I'm sorry you had to put this in twice, but do you have any IP protection, Michael?
Yes, we have a very solid composition of matter patent on our core technology, and we're filing a second patent this month that describes the mode of action. So how do we deliver nutrients to the plants, and the improved manufacturing process that we optimized in the last 12 months. So we have two patents, hopefully by the end of this month in process. So the first patent is filed in 20 nations more than a year ago. And we're looking to further expand our patent portfolio. There's other ideas to file a third patent later this year.
Okay, last but not least, the question, are there any other major competitors in the micronutrient space? That's Stephanie.
Well, the biggest competitors are like these oxysulfates, metal salts that we're dealing with, that we see as our prime competitor. They're all produced by the big chemical companies, the big names, the Yaras, Nutrients, and so forth. And that is why we are taking this route to do a B2B approach. And we're getting quite some interest from fertilizer companies because it's new, it's better performing, it's non-polluting, it's sustainable, it fits into that, that whole sustainability movement that large fertilizer companies are focused on right now.
Okay, good. Thank you. I think this is it for Lucent BioSciences. Correct, Tessa? Thank you, Michael. Well done.
Thank you.
So then we're gonna go to the next company, and that is Alistair with Proskida. Alistair, yes, there's your screen, and the floor is yours.
Great, thank you very much, Irene. Hello, everybody. My name is Alistair Smith. I'm the CEO and founder of Proskida, and we make the software ProTurn.io. We're on the path to changing the $10 billion sport performance analysis market. We're the leader in sport performance software, and we're taking a much needed new approach to performance analysis. We first applied this technology to alpine skiing, and ProTurn has fundamentally changed how people train in that sport within just 1 year. So as evidence, we've reached almost 200K in sales last year and hit the 10K MRR, monthly recurring revenue milestone, with almost no money spent on marketing. We have both amateur and professional customers in 13 countries. This includes 7 national teams, 2 professional teams, and they've won over 100 World Cup medals this year. Our product is currently being used in both summer and winter sports. So what is the issue with sport? It's like every other industry, data is getting easier and easier to collect. Within sport, athletes are buying over $1 billion in sensors each year. Ultimately, they don't want data, they want insights on how to improve. And these insights are derived from critical moments in training. The problem is to isolate, track, and compare those moments is costly, time-consuming, and technically difficult. So how does ProTurn solve the problem? Well, first off, we take a different approach to looking at sport performance data. Many of the products out there try to draw a single insight from the entire training session. ProTurn takes the approach that within a training session, there are critical moments, and most of the rest is noise. In using a simple interface paired with AI, ProTurn.io isolates these critical moments so that they can be tracked over time and compared against other athletes and benchmarks. Most importantly, this gives our customers the insights they need to train more effectively and efficiently so they can reach their goals faster. It's why we've attracted so many of these top teams so quickly. So what about our competitors? Well, they mainly fall into 2 groups. They either oversimplify, so those are the ones in the bottom right quadrant, or they're extremely complex, the ones in the top left. So the first group takes an entire session with multiple data streams like heart rate, speed, power, cadence, and puts them into a meat grinder to produce some insights. The problem is, like a sausage, you don't really know what exactly went in to produce it, nor do you know what to change to make it better. These insights aren't actionable. And sports scientists actually often call them vanity metrics. The second group of that provides more actionable insights, but they require a sports science degree to operate and interpret the results. ProTurn.io's use of AI to isolate, track, and compare these critical moments in training provides a simple, actionable insights that are really quickly and easily. And this is appealing for both amateur and professional athletes. So speaking of which, our market is dedicated, is the dedicated amateur for whom sport is their passion. There's about 60 million of them across multiple sports. And these aren't professionals. In fact, most of them, we call them mammals, so middle-aged men in Lycra, and you probably know one or two and certainly have seen them in the wild. These dedicated amateurs will end up spending over 10 billion a year on sport performance improvement. And a proven method to reach this market is via professional athletes, which is convenient as many of the professionals are using ProTurn.io already. So to reach all these 60 million dedicated amateurs, we built ProTurn.io to be sport and sensor agnostic. This means our customers can use their existing sensors, enabling us to really scale our growth. They can get instant value by searching historic data. And by using AI, the more our customers use the tool, the better our data set becomes and the deeper our moat. So as a software as a service business, we've built ProTurn.io to scale. We're investing in digital marketing and leveraging our influential customers to act as ambassadors. We already have a solid presence in both North America and Europe and know how to sell in those two markets. We're anticipating similar monthly growth of 20% month over month as we get into the summer. And we anticipate this growth to continue, hitting about 785K in sales this year and 3.7 million in 2022 and 10 million in 2023, largely on the expansion into the massive endurance sport market. So as ProTurn.io grows, we see a number of opportunities for our investors to benefit. ProTurn.io's AI algorithms, developed from our unique approach, can be applied to existing unfiltered sport performance data. And there's money and strategic positioning happening now in this industry. 3 of these companies listed here raised over $630 million in the last 9 months, and acquisitions of over 100 million have been happening in the last year. So as a team, we've got that in place now. We have a combination of a technical and subject matter expertise. In fact, one of our developers is a 2-time Olympian. And this idea for ProTurn.io came out of our work with the Norwegian Olympic Federation and the Swiss Federal Institute of Sport. It's these customers, these people who are doing this approach already, but taking more of a sports science approach and using tools like Excel and MATLAB to be able to isolate those critical moments. So we're leading a change in sport performance analysis and we're gaining momentum. And I'm excited to say even today, as of today, the entire Swedish national cross-country ski team is onboarding with ProTurn. Their use of ProTurn is exactly the same as any other endurance sport, such as cycling and running. And of course, right now, actually, most of their training is running. So thank you for your time today. And please send me a note or call if you'd like to know any more information.
Thank you, Alistair. That's great. I just want to mention, I got to sort of meet you virtually like less than a year ago, and the number of sales, it's been amazing, right? Correct? Did it play out as planned?
Yes, yeah. It's been quite exciting to see, yes.
Yeah, no, really, really impressive. Just another question that's based on a question that came in through the chat box. Are you raising right now or not, or did you close your financing?
We've just closed our last round, but we'll probably be looking, as we expand into cycling, we'll probably be looking in the fall potentially for another one. So certainly we'd be keen to be talking with people now. So yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so I'll put them in touch with you. Okay, Carolyn on the judging panel has a question. Can you provide some examples of actionable insights that your product has provided to users, and how these critical moment insights differ from competitors?
So a key thing, for example, in training, so especially in endurance, it's often about intensity when you're doing intensity training. And so that can be an interval or a hill climb or things. A metric that's extremely important is how well do you recover and how quickly do you recover? So competitors now will look at often sort of your whole training session and then kind of determine your training load, like how hard was the workout. What our software can do is it can isolate when those intensity moments happen, and then it can look right afterwards and start to pinpoint exactly how fast are you recovering after a comparable intensity sort of moment in time. So we can really track kind of how your body's recovering and the load on your body over time, where by being able to really focus in and hone in on specific elements of the workout.
Thanks, Alistair. Like Gio on the judging panel has a question too. He is asking you, how did you build your AI model? What was the source of your data?
So we're basically, what we're doing is we're using, it's essentially coming in from the data that we have now with all of the athletes, and we're looking at essentially signal processing to look at kind of where are we seeing these intensity moments, and can essentially comparing it to structured data. So most athletes, the ones who we've been working with at this point, will be following structured workouts. And so we know from there what it is that is considered to be the intensity moments. And we can then, we're basically training our algorithm based on what we're seeing from the structured data with what it is that our system can produce. So in terms of being able to understand and be able to identify what an interval is, hill climbs, and so on. So that's kind of been extremely helpful for us.
Okay, there's very good questions coming in from the audience as well. And I think, Tessa, I can at least ask one, right? Arvind from the audience has the question, and it's one part of his question. What is the integration with Zwift?
Right
is
now,
there an integration?
Right now, we don't have an integration with Zwift. We do integrate with Garmin and Polar and Suunto. A key thing that we can do is we can start to look at, like, the nice thing about Zwift and Trainer Road and these trainer programs is that it's very easy to do structured workouts inside. What our software can do is it can pull out elements from an outdoor workout and give you sort of that same benefit of being able to track that structured workout. Now, certainly in the medium term, integrating with Zwift is key, along with other sort of training programs, indoor training programs, like, again, as I said, Trainer Road and so on.
Okay, thank you very much. I just really want to make it clear, like, if you have questions for the presenters and we don't get to ask your question, please do send me an email. I'll put my email in the chat box and I will put you in touch with them also in regards to financing, just anything, just so you know. Okay, we can now move on to the third company, and that is LetHub from Victoria. Faizan, are you here?
Yep.
And
sure.
you are very welcome to share your screen and tell us all about LetHub.
I will mention really quickly too, if the startups want to go in chat and answer any questions while the other presentations are happening, they can do that too.
Perfect.
Okay. Can you guys hear me okay? Oh, I think there's no. Oh, okay. So hey everyone, my name is Faizan. I'm the founder and CEO of LetHub. At LetHub, we build AI-powered software for the rental property management industry that rents out properties 10 times faster than an actual human leasing agent. This increases their profitability, and also the time it takes to actually rent out a property is reduced by 25%. So the problem that we solve is around efficiency. And the current market, if you look at it, it's very inefficient, and it is a very messy way how properties are rented, whether it's by property managers or landlords. A typical company receives over 1,000 rental inquiries a month, and only half of them really get answered. These inquiries come from listing websites like Zillow, Zumper, Kijiji, Craigslist, or maybe from short-term rentals, websites like Airbnb, HomeAway, and so on. People are asking the same questions again and again, whether it's about parking, whether it's about application processes, pets, and so on. And this floods a property manager's inbox with questions, and nothing really gets happened or actioned after that. So why would they operate in an old way? It's because all of these inquiries land in an inbox, and they're not really taken care of from the source. That means they have a leaky pipeline and a delayed response. If you have 1,000 emails in your inbox, there's a high chance you won't be able to go through them very quickly. So you just try to action the ones that are most responsive or action the ones that are on top. There's no real pre-qualification criteria, so it's open to all. If you can find me, then you can book a tour with me and then and just show up. That means that there's no real pre-qualification going on with renters or prospective renters. That means that sort of relates to no-shows and window shoppers that are not really interested in your place and they're just wasting your time. Same thing with banking that information, because you're just operating out of a spreadsheet and a Gmail inbox per se. You're not really banking those leads. There's no system out there that tells you or any kind of information about these prospects, and you just sort of spraying and praying in terms of like just throwing a dart and trying to figure out if someone shows up at the property. And if they're good enough, then you sign the lease with them. There's no feedback system. Once someone visits your property, you don't really ask them how their experience was. Maybe they didn't like the location, maybe they didn't like the price. And there's no real analytics based on what's working and what's not. So all of this combined, all of this mess for property managers costs them approximately $500 of lost rent per property per day and 4 hours of work. This is a typical leasing agent's day, which is spent 4 hours doing this. And so we solve this. We have built a fully automated platform that only filters out renters that are actually good, and it takes care of the whole scheduling process. So you can imagine something from the time the inquiry comes in from a listing website to the time the prospective renter shows up at the property, everything is automated by our AI. Our AI will respond to your questions directly from your email inbox or your leasing email inbox. It will pre-qualify people based on your criteria. Maybe you don't want people who have pets, maybe you don't want bankruptcies and so on. And it will schedule showings back to back. So you, as a leasing agent, you're not driving around, for example, downtown Vancouver to North Vancouver, showing different properties. You just go to a property once, you do your 5 showings and then move on. And it captures all this lead info, puts it into our CRM, and you can access all that information. If people showed initial interest but never really followed up, we will follow up with those people and make sure the properties are promoted. Once the showing is done, we collect feedback. So everything from the point the inquiry comes in to the point when someone shows up at the door is fully automated. So that saves up 4 hours a day for a leasing agent, and a typical company has around 10 leasing agents. So we've been growing really fast in the last 4 months. We've 4x in the MRR. We're just over 10K MRR, and from our previous presentations, we've increased our future sales bucket by another 50K. We booked 50K in revenue. We've got 12 companies or so, and currently there's 3 more companies in the pipeline. And in the current pipeline, you can we have around 200K in sales. With the companies that we work with, they're all over the place in terms of Canada and US. Very tech savvy companies that want to improve. A typical company would have anything between 5 to 10 leasing agents that are handling a specific area, and they manage anything between 600 to 2,000 units. Our pricing is very simple. We charge $1 per unit per month, that's US dollars. And our average customer has around 1,000 units under management. We're releasing another maintenance module, which is an AI maintenance module that works with our current software. And for an average customer, we're looking at something around 20 to 24K contract with both the modules. So that takes us to around 1.2 billion ARR, annual recurring revenue. We started off with the rental property market. Currently, there's 50 million rental units in US and Canada. And then out of those 50, 20 are actually professionally managed. So our serviceable addressable market is around $500 million. Next, our goal is to sort of move on and target the more short-term rental market. We're talking about Airbnb, home away, and so on. That's a very different market when it comes to the number of inquiries that are sent in a high summer season. For example, a typical Airbnb can get up to 100 inquiries per property. So if someone's managing 10 properties, that's a lot of inquiries to handle and to filter out people. So we're going to be looking at that market in the next 6 months or so and charging approximately $500 a unit. Our team is amazing. I myself, this is my third startup. I've successfully exited 2 startups in the past, both relating to real estate and technology. A lot of our AI is built by our CTO and ML engineer, Bran, and we've got 12 other people in the company, so a total of 14 people. Our average age is around 24, so yeah, we don't have 30 years of experience or like gray hair or something. Yeah, and then we have an amazing advisory board that helps us around things and how to like move forward faster. Yeah, it's very simple. The way we get customers, there's no real magic to it. We do direct sales. 90% of it is following our typical, sales playbook. We've figured out the process that gets us more sales, and we just follow that and tweak it and improve it over time. Our marketing team does a lot of thought leadership, whether it's blog content, podcasts, or social media that produces like around 8 to 10% of our inbound leads that are then converted into sales. And partnerships are super important to us. Integrations and partnerships is something that we're going to be focusing on the next 6 months. Companies that provide different kind of services, whether it's website or vendor services to these property management companies, we partner up with them, bundle up our product with them, and sell it to them. So that's on the cards. In terms of competition, we consider ourselves as more of a plug and play. Once the onboarding happens with the customer, we basically set it and forget it. You don't have to have staff logged in all the time to see how the AI is doing or how the leads are being recorded or not. It's one time, set it and forget it. And if you just want analytics, you log in and see how properties are doing. Other competitors are more focused around providing a chat-like interface to people, and they're not really focused around different channels around email or chat or text. So we try to cover all channels of inquiries. They're basically just like 2 other companies that are focused more on AI, which are our competitors. Yeah.
Sorry, we do need to wrap it up. So if this is your last slide, that's great.
Yeah, so last slide. So yeah, we're raising 500K pre-seed round. It's all priced and it's common shares that will help us reach our goal of 1 million ARR. That's 70 customers in total. So we need probably 58 more customers. We've got some government funding for the AI maintenance module. It's around 50K. So we'll be leveraging that plus the new money that comes in to launch the maintenance module. And yeah, we're EBC and RSP friendly. So if you have any questions, my email's on the slide deck and happy to answer.
Thank you, Faizan. Well done. I was going to ask the question about your financing if Tessa would not allow you to go on. I just have to mention this. I do know that your advisory board is a little older than 24, right? And they have a few gray hairs. Good thing. Okay, are there any questions from the judges? If not, I have a few here in the chat box. There's Rob. He's asking you, and you probably would have to change the name of your company, but he's asking you, do you have a program to manage real estate sales as well?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, I think the way we envision LetHub is that we're starting off with one thing and having a laser focus towards it. I think one of the biggest mistakes that startups make is like having to do a lot of things and trying to capture different markets. So this is our niche first, and we're gonna own it. There's no real AI company in Canada that does this. And so our goal is to be best at this. And then we're targeting Facebook Marketplace. And from LetHub, you can push listings to Facebook Marketplace, and then AI can connect to Facebook directly. So to answer your question, yes, the end goal or the big vision is to also make it available for real estate buy and sell, and make it available to brokers and realtors who want to use this as a lead engine.
Great. What is your, and this is a question from Gio, who's on the judging panel as well. His question is, what's your filtering criteria for pre-qualifying tenants?
That's a great question. Everyone has their own criteria. Given that there's like human rights issues, we sort of have to give this over to people to put their own criteria, whether it's asking about bankruptcies or credit scores, or whether it's asking about their availability, how many people will be moving in. So we built this amazing platform that's super customizable. So during our onboarding session, we set it up for people according to what they want.
Okay, another question. What is your investor exit strategy?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to note over here is that we've been very efficient and built an amazing team, and we're going to keep growing. And if opportunities do come in, then we are happy to cater to them. We've already been approached by 2 companies for licensing deals in terms of putting River, our AI, onto a listing website. You can imagine this as Craigslist putting River onto their rentals website, where people can interact with the AI directly and then book a tour or showing for a property. So yeah, a few Silicon Valley companies have, or listing companies have already reached out. But I think that we need to keep going and keep building it, and then keep growing the way we're growing. And if there is an opportunity that's really good, then we're happy to, move forward with it. But we want to work with cool people.
Understandable. That's why you're here, right?
Yeah.
One last question with an eye on Tessa. Yeah, I think one question is okay. From Carolyn, she's on the judging panel as well. Like, how long does it take you to onboard each customer?
Good question. I have an amazing onboarding team, and I think it takes around 2 calls and they go live. One of the pet peeves of mine is that's personal, is that a lot of other software companies take 6 weeks to onboard up to 10 people in a company. We've made it a point that within 2 calls, you have to go live. Otherwise, we just refund your money.
Good. Okay.
Faizan, if you can get back to William.
Yes.
Sorry?
Yeah, William has a question. William is on the judging panel as well. And you're raising 500. Like, what is your valuation? And the question is, raising only 500 with the current revenue growth you're experiencing, will that be sufficient?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think we've planned everything out, and we already have sales in the pipeline, so I'm not too worried about raising more. And I think 500K is way more sufficient to get us 58 more customers for our next milestone. And our valuation is 3.9 mil pre-money.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Just please do go to the chat and the Q&A box. There's a few questions that are still open, so you can answer them. People can approach you for more information about the financing as well, or send us an email and I'll put them in touch with you. Thank you very much, Faizan. It's good to see you again. Like as Erin said, like twice in 12 hours, not bad.
Yeah, we're on fire. Thank you. Awesome.
Yeah. All right. Okay, we move on to the last, but for sure not the least. Marnie from Acterra Tech, are you here? And you can start sharing your screen.
Thanks, Irene.
You're very, very welcome. You go.
Okay. So, oh, sorry, I just need to get this into slideshow mode. Sorry.
That always happens, you know, we do a run through some whatsoever, and then the moment is there, then there you go. And now
there we are.
It's still not in. There we are. Good.
Okay.
All yours.
Thank you. I'm Marnie, and I'm the CEO at Acterra Tech. Our bioag company has engineered a community of beneficial microorganisms to revitalize our failing agricultural soils. Behind those failing soils will be the failing farms. This is squarely a problem that lands on both food security and urgent climate action at the level of the UN. But thankfully, it's just a land management decision. Now, I'm not saying regenerative ag is the one, though. I'm saying we need to bring a more discerning conversation to this land management practice, because in the case of our broadacre farmers or our plant-based farmers, they're going to have deep challenges getting past those first two practices in the bottom left. Before you see the right-hand picture of regenerative farming grace our prairies, it will be quite some time, because practice 3, 4, 5 really find their full relevance with livestock, and they really find their full relevance with an investment. You actually have to invest in your cover crops, keeping roots in the ground, and of course, whatever the livestock may be. And that goes for around the world. This is a common problem. So thankfully, we have a new way, and this is the future of farming. This is a collaboration between Acterra and BioActive. And what we do is on tractor, we take this mechanized event, capture the exhaust from either diesel or biofuel, bring it to the front of the tractor, cool it, microbially enhance it with Acterra, and return it to soil in the same movement. While the farmer seeds, sprays, or combines, we have this empowerment of these farmers to make their own micronutrient biofertilizers that are microbially enhanced. So line by line behind those tines in that soil, that's where we find the relevance for crop farmers. Inch by inch, we're repairing soil, and with the tractor, we will do it over hundreds and thousands and eventually millions of acres. The value prop for that farmer is a yield increase most of the time. At worst case, we're going to match fertilizer, field against field, crop against crop. We save $100 per acre per year. You can get up to a 60% premium on the sale of our crops. Please ask me about that in the questions. And we increase year one, 0.5% of soil organic matter. And that is really the holy grail of this whole exercise. You fix soil, you fix the whole food system. Any crop, any soil, we're completely agnostic. This is BioActive's experience in the world and the development of their technology. Here's our team. You will be hard pressed to find a founder who has a better founder product market fit than Gary Lewis. He is the brains behind BioActive. He's grown up in a John Deere dealership. He's a Red Seal mechanic, specialized in exhaust, and a farmer himself. So if you're going to tell a farmer not to use fertilizer, you better be one yourself. And that is his case. He's had his hands in soil all over the world, met every crop you can possibly think of. Myself and my brother were the microbial knowledge. Barb and Pat keep us tracking for admin and accounting. So how does this collaboration make money? We have 4 revenue streams. Acterra has one that's solely Acterra's, and we're developing that with other partners beyond BioActive. And then we have 3 with BioActive as our first market partner. So we share, we either share profits or we take a commission on these sales. And we're still working out how that carbon aggregation is going to work when our patent protected methodology hits in 2024. There's nobody else out there really saying don't farm with fertilizer. So we're alone, but at the same time, we're going to compete against every single crop production system that's ever crossed the education, experience, or belief of the farmer. And not only that, we are working with their fears. Their fears today, of course, drive them to make decisions that are low risk. Increased yields is just a high risk proposition because by and large, all it does is increase the cash outlay at the front of the season that might be subjected to drought, frost, or of course, hail. So that conversation, I've really blown it up for you here. This is a mini P&L of a worst case Acterra BioActive scenario against an absolute best case new fandangled competitor on the fertilizer side in regenerative agriculture. So if we just grew to the Saskatchewan average of 39 bushels in wheat, and the competitor on the right-hand side had a 35% increase in yield to 53, you can see where their revenue is going to fall, and you can see the cost of each of the systems. So this is a mini P&L just against crop production. It's not a farm P&L because layering into this, of course, is going to be fixed costs, crop insurance, labor, et cetera, but that's going to be the same on either side of the ledger. So I really just want to prove the point here on the ROI of this system. Canada-US opportunity, so it's really, really significant. Of course, we have both annual recurring revenue and addressable market opportunities with the equipment sales. So this is interesting because it doesn't include our carbon offset sales yet. We're not prepared to put a number on that opportunity just at this time, but we have all kinds of other land management practices that we can run down as well too that are not included here either. The go-to-market strategy is really 4 pillars. So we are going to take the farm gate. We hold the relationship with the farmer for sure for 5 years because they're in 5-year leases. And not only that, they need a lot of hand holding because this is just so radical and new. Our beachhead is Western Canada. We have 85% of our crop production in Canada here, and it's right on our doorstep. The repeats and referrals are already happening. I have a list of 20 farmers already for next year. As long as they come out to our field days this summer and they see what they need to see, we will be converting those right away. And then of course, a patent protected methodology where just consider for a moment that every farmer under our system is farming in the same way. That is so unique for a carbon offset methodology that it is really going to allow us to score in that regard in 2024 and 5 when it hits. We're building partnerships too. Like I mentioned, beyond bioactive, we're already private labeling for the Farmers Business Network. Took our first check off them just yesterday in private label and a registration coming for California. That's just to mention, there's a lot of big names on that list there. Our value chains, our farmer is at the core. And that's really the nexus of what we're building here is that direct relationship, like I just mentioned, a 5-year lease. We're going to be working with these men and women, and they grow carbon. So they're growing it for the agri-tech side. Canola, for example, they can buy their biofuel with their own product that they grow. That exhaust comes back to them as an input on their farm. And of course, on the agri-food side, we're growing organic, as long as we're using biofuel and functional foods that come back through our system as inputs for Acterra. And that, of course, is happening with our food recyclers, with which we've already partnered with one here in BC. The forecast is very much an L. So we are going to capitalize on the fact this is the first season that we actually have Acterra and Bioactive together on almost about 40,000 acres this year. So slowly but surely, we plan to grow this out and just ease our early adopters into the system and learning about the system and laying out our carbon methodology as we go. And then in 2025, the L begins. Those numbers underneath the revenue streams that you see at the bottom, that's how Acterra earns or monetizes its collaboration with Bioactive right now. The exit strategy could be any one of these. We have a very strong proposition in that we have one farming system and we have 6 patents coming down the pipe with the 6th one coming up here. And then of course, the patent protected carbon offset methodology as well. Top traction points just for review. We're exploring amalgamation right now because this has been just such a fruitful and of course rewarding partnership, and working together with Gary Lewis and his family has been a real pleasure for us as the Let's. Our combined year sales to date are up over $1 million. That's a 10x from where Bioactive was last year. And our production capacity, we can still scale within what we have on the ground and the investments we've already made. We're asking for $400,000 for Acterra, 40,000 is soft circled in a safe, 4 million cap. And although early stage, it is very large and meaningful, this opportunity. And we're just hopeful that we'll find someone today who wants to join us on this journey to really impact the food system at every level. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Marnie. Well done. You ask and we deliver. Can you tell us more about the premium on the sale?
Absolutely. So what this comes down to is really, sorry, I'm just going to take my screen off here. So what that comes down to, Irene, is just quite simply the fact that we have the ability, farming under Bioactive, to hang on to our crops. So what that means is most farmers are in contract forward scenarios where they grab those crops off the field, jump on the seat of their truck, deliver them to the processor and pay their fertilizer bill. But that puts them in a situation where they've got the bottom of the market pricing. So as an example, Gary Lewis had a contract forward price on yellow peas last year, $6.50. Of course, he didn't take it because he doesn't have to run and pay his fertilizer bill. And in hanging on to it, he sold those same yellow peas for $10.70. So that is an upside of greater than 60%. And not only that, our crops always weigh more. When you grow biologically, you grow optimally to the plant's potential. That's really what a biological system does. And just to give you a quick example there, it isn't always about weighing more. Malted barley, you want to weigh less. And that is what the crop buyer will pay for. And sure enough, we have lower protein, 9% in our bioactive system compared to a fertilizer system that has 12%. So what's going on there is the plant is growing intuitively and instinctively for best outcomes for crop buyers, human health, and of course, its own survival. That's what a biological system is. And then of course, tariffs. That's the third element that impacts crop premiums. So knowing that there is a tariff in India on peas, Gary was able to hold back again on that contract forward pricing. So there's a lot, these farmers are really remarkable, everything that they do to get food to market. And with our system, we give them every opportunity to make the best of that growing season.
Okay, thanks, Marnie. There's a few questions from the judges as well. Like Gio has 2 questions very quickly. Do crops grown with your system qualify as organic?
Absolutely. It's just a matter of using biofuel. We have ProCert and EcoCert certifications for 2021 for the whole system, and they are the foremost certifiers in Canada. And so also valid for the US.
What are the upfront hardware costs for farmers?
Okay,
that's from Gio as well.
So we saw there was 2 red line items on those systems. So the $6 cost is ultimately what we call carbon water. That's a liquid concentrate product that cools the exhaust, microbially enhances it and returns it to soil. And then the equipment itself, we're looking at about a $145,000 outlay if you're going to set your farm up front to back for seeding to treating your residue. And so residue treatments are relatively new in this market, but they're extremely important. And we are learning that we're literally growing fertility out of thin air by applying our post-residue treatment with our system and with that carbon water. Every single micronutrient is up anywhere from 20 to 80% in our tests so far.
Okay, thank you. Do we have time for one more question, Tessa? Good, one more. The question is, and that's from Scott from the audience, it's only a question of time before diesel tractors are replaced by electric, hence no exhaust for bioactive precursor material and carbon offsets. What's your plan for that?
Our plan is friends, and those friends come from those partnerships. So oil and gas, for example, they have a tremendous challenge ahead of them with carbon taxes heading for $170 by 2030 in Canada. And that is one of the first partnerships that we've just coined. We're grant writing right now for $5 million with that industry. We really need friends here to show our regulators in this country and elsewhere that there's a better way. Because I think it's a long time before we see electrified tractors on the ground or even methane powered tractors on the ground. It doesn't really matter. We can work with any fuel. It's really about the electrification. So it's, you know, we work with relics today because our farmers are really, really quite poor, in fact. And this system goes on to any one of those. Some of these tractors could be 50 years old and we're still putting systems on them in Africa, for example. So it's really important to think about regulation. If we're able to regulate death on diesel trucks, we can certainly regulate something like this on every tractor everywhere. It just makes sense. Farmers can grow their fuel, use biofuel, and we can take that only 3% organic market to beyond. That's what excites me most.
Thank you, Marnie. Okay, I think we can move on to all the judges filling out their scoring sheets. We have a few minutes here, and I'm just going to scroll. Sorry, it will ad-lib it a little through the questions here.
I'm going to interrupt you really quickly, Irene, before you ask us some audience questions while the judges deliberate. I'm going to launch a poll here for attendees. Let us know who your favorite presentation was. It's always a fun fan favorite thing. So I'm just going to launch that. There you go.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for that, Tessa. It's fun to see how that works out compared to the judges scoring as well. Okay, I'm gonna scroll through the questions and I'm gonna work my way back. Like Marnie, what percentage of the funds that you're gonna raise do you plan on putting in R&D? And then will that number significantly decrease? Percentage R&D versus sales?
So in that regard, R&D is never done, but we are commercial. So we sold up over $1 million this year. Acterra has been at it for 4 years now, still picking up repeats from original farmers. And BioAct has been at it for 15 years. They're 5th generation technology. They've been all over the world already, as you saw on that one slide. So we don't have a lot of spend on the system itself. What we need to spend on is just understanding it better so that we can market it better. And of course, about $1 million for a carbon methodology. We could call that R&D, I think, as well, because it's just so new. The system is just so unique.
Okay, thanks, Marnie. Faizan, are you still there? If so, I have a question for you from the audience, and that is like, is there a point in the whole process where AI will decide it's struggling with the conversation and will prompt a human to reply?
Yeah, that's, I think one of the things that we need to understand is like, if we were to do that, then it defeats the purpose of AI itself. The goal is to be smarter with data. Right now, we deal with over 500,000 data points just to respond better to questions. If that happens where the AI fails to respond to a question, then the renters are given an opportunity to contact the leasing agent, but only if it's really failing to respond to a very tough question. Renters are a bit funny in a way where you will ask them a question if they have pets, they'll try to like answer it in a very sly way. And then, you know, our AI can capture that, can understand that. So yeah, to answer your question, there is an option to for them to contact the leasing agent, but the goal is to be at least 90% accurate.
Okay, thank you, Faisal. And Alistair, Alistair, I have a question for you. You did answer it in the Q&A, but I think it might sort of be important to maybe dive a little deeper in that. Like, how do you define an organization? And what is the one-time of annual cost of maintaining athlete records over the years?
Sure, yeah. So the organization, like when we talk about who we're selling to, it's a combination of either teams or athletes individually. We define a team as really someone who's purchasing multiple accounts on behalf of their athletes. So kind of simple, they're buying 10, we call them a team. In terms of the cost for maintaining the records, storage is thankfully very cheap. With Amazon S3, it's extremely cheap. Most of our costs are actually largely on the processing side, maintaining the servers. So from a cost perspective, it's kind of a negligible amount. The data is actually not, it's quite small as well. It's typically stored as binary files. So I would say it's not something that we don't obviously consider, but it's not something that's really much of an issue for us.
Okay, thank you. Then one last question for Michael before we go over to the judges. Like Michael, I saw those really nice smaller bags, like the sort of fertilizer for consumers. This is not what you're doing right now, right? It's just a nice thing for people to try your products, correct?
Yeah, exactly. We created like a batch of thousands of those little bags as giveaways to our investors and people who have been supporting us, and there's a bunch that we sell online. So yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, we're trying them out here, and the palm trees are growing like crazy. So yeah, good, thanks. Okay, Tessa, do we have all the scores? I'll hand it back to you and Jordan.
Yeah, so I'm just sharing the fan favorite. So Lucent BioSciences is the fan favorite with 37%. Excellent. Well, thanks so much for filling that out. And I'm going to pass it over to Jordan to announce our winner from the grand finale.
All right, I got a drum roll here.
Okay.
The winner is Lucent. Lucent is the winner. So that's pretty interesting with the poll results to the actual results. So yeah, congratulations. I just want to say a special thanks to everyone that attended, startups, judges, Irene, Tessa. Special thanks to VIATEC, obviously, to help put this all together. yeah, I want to say again, thanks for everyone attending, and we look forward to doing many more of these events and trying to tie in BC into one whole. So yeah, thanks again.
Thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate your time. This has been awesome. And
Yeah.
all the finalists and all the startups who were able to compete before you. Great. For everyone's information, if you did miss any presentations, they are all recorded on VIATEC's YouTube channel. So we will be sharing that on social media today or tomorrow, and you can rewatch. And thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.